Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thoughts and Stairs. I want to talk to you today about jobs, working and quitting those jobs when necessary. If you've ever quit a job, the most reason that you did it for is to find something that pays more. In other cases, some people quit their jobs because it completely sucks. And when someone quits their job because it sucks, you have to ask yourself, did the job suck? Did the pay suck? What sucked about it? And I think the answer to that really relies on what a man is worth. People take things in today's society and say that, you know, what am I worth? I do a job, I want to afford to live. People talk about minimum wage. Back in the 70s, minimum wage would get you a house, able to support a family, even a dog go on vacation. Today, minimum wage won't even pay the rent, let alone, it barely buys you food. So what is a person worth for their job? The very big question. What you're starting to see here is a lot of narcissism that comes with today's society. Everybody thinks that they're worth something, but nobody wants to put in the work in order to get, the money that they want. Today, you see a lot of streamers and vloggers and stuff like that. They make tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, making it on YouTube and Twitch and Rumble. And then, people ask how and why. And it's a form of socialism where, the people are supporting the people. But I'm not going to talk about someone else's money or job in the sense of, should you be earning that? It's more of the fact is that what's going on in society. Recently, I just quit my job. They were underpaying, and quite frankly, the way that I was getting paid looked kind of shady. So I didn't really want anything to do with it. So what is a man worth? At my age, I can tell you right now that I am not worth minimum wage. I'm worth more than that. I'm not worth some high end job where I get 100 grand a year. But as a working man, somebody who isn't lazy, you figure, you should be worth something. Then you get employees that look at you and just think, yeah, you're easily replaceable. And you know what? You really are. And then it makes you think, like, if we're easily replaceable, then who's going to do the fucking, who's going to do the work when those easily replaceable people start thinking like me and then saying like, no, fuck this, we want something better, and then they'll create something better. Does it make society better or does it make it worse? Does some person sitting there on their laptop and, making, writing some stories or whatever, making 100 grand a year or something like that, some journalists or whatever, working for some fucked up company, making $70,000-$80,000 a year, barely putting in work, while there's people who put in hard labor, barely making ends meet. I mean, what is money worth? And it really does seem that society is given to those who don't contribute. They don't contribute a lot. And the ones who do all the contributing, the ones who do the heavy labor, the building and stuff like that, if they're not part of the union, they're not really getting shit either. So what is a person worth? Me as a man, I don't know. One can say a lot. One can say nothing at all. It's really hard because everybody can't create something and make money off of it. It's that true. You just cannot do that. The people who do get lucky or whatever, you can call it luck, you can call it skill. The ones that do, they make it, congratulations on them. But there seems to be a very big imbalance when it comes to finance. And it's starting to piss people off. People are looking at things like the stock market, which I really don't care about. A lot of people, they want to look at the stock market as a way to show like, how prices are going up and down, but it really isn't about that, because money is only as valuable as you make it. If you go in thinking you're going to make a lot of money at a job, you're already going to get disappointed. If you're going to go in thinking if I work hard, I'm going to get a raise and this and that, you're going to be very disappointed. I'll tell you that right now. There's a lot of people who think if they work hard, they'll get something out of it. And that's almost never true. I mean, some people can see hard work, but one of the most things that you shouldn't do at a job is give more than what is needed if you're not going to get anything in return. Like if you're a piece worker, shit, make as much as you want and you get back as much as you want. But if you're getting paid X amount of dollars per hour, just give, whatever. And if you do that, you might get a sense about, how much you are worth. Because you really can work hard and then say, F the whole thing because you work hard and you're not getting anything out of it. And that really is what society has become, is that you work hard and nobody appreciates it. You see it in the jobs, you see it in dating. It's crazy, but it is like dating is just as hard as dating has become harder than any job that has been produced right now. But that's something totally different. I'm not even going to get into the whole dating thing. This is about your job and what you think you should be worth and why things are the way they are. One of the reasons why people ask the question what they are worth is mostly because as they work, prices get higher. And it starts to make a person think, am I really a slave to a system? As everything that we've been told is true and not just a conspiracy theory, like where we are sheep and the rich, the people in government, they're the sheep herders. Is it really like that? Because if it is, then the answer to the meaning of life is that's what it is. You're sheep. And you're only lucky enough to become a herder. I really refuse to believe that. I do not wish to believe that. That's an insane thing to believe. But at the same time, if you show it to the world, that's what it looks like. We're sheep and the sheep herders are just leading us to our slaughter every day. Someone like me, your back hurts from working, your hands hurt, you get older, you got almost nothing to show for it. And I'm not saying I don't have anything. I'm not rich. I have stuff, but I worked my ass off to get it. And when I did get it, I knew that was my worth. I quit that job to get another job. The only reason why I quit the last job that gave me what it was worth is because it was too far away. It was too tolling. I was getting an hour and a half to maybe 3 hours a day in my life to spend with my fiance. And and I just said, no, it's not worth it. I'd rather take a couple of, dollars per hour, less if it's much closer. and I did, but this job was just absolute shit. They were paying me wrong, but again, but it makes you think, like, what are you worth as a man? I can't say anything as a woman because I'm not a woman, and no, I'm not going to transition into one either. I don't even know how that even is possible. But the point is that what is a man worth? Is a man worth whatever the government says you're worth? Because that's another thing that people got to understand, is that when you see things like that, when you see people in government who should be helping you and they're helping themselves, it really makes you upset. And then what do? Talk about it like I'm doing now. Do something about it, where people will call you crazy because they're too afraid to do something about it themselves. So instead of either joining along in that quote unquote craziness, they rather just label you and I guess be part of a bubble that they think they're not in, perhaps. But life is getting harder and harder, and it really is looking at an end time where everybody just becomes enslaved to you know to just working until you drop dead. I refuse to believe that that's what life is about. I refuse it because other people live a life and they're more free than the ones who work hard. And I'm not saying people like billionaires or something like that. I'm not saying they don't work. I mean, you become a billionaire, you know, or a millionaire from reasons that probably 90%. Well, I say probably 70% have to do with hard work. But I think what is it, like 90% of millionaire women or billionaires got it from divorcing their husbands. But I guess that's a different story too in itself. But anyways, that's pretty much what I want to, get off my chest. What is someone worth is more of a question in my, first episode of Thoughts and Sayers, is that, I would like, if somebody watches this video or whatever, I would like to have that feedback on what people think about their job, what they think about, their future and how much they are worth, because you have bosses that will say that you're easily replaceable. And the easily replaceable should know that they're the ones that, are just being easily replaced with somebody else, and should, know to come to the conclusion that they should ask for more or should give more, or maybe, and even in a sense, because it's probably the smartest thing to do, find out what the hell is going on with your taxes and find out why we are paying so much and question that instead of asking billionaires to pay more tax, because that's a form of jealousy. And that has a lot to do with the job, because people work and they don't make their ends meet, and they get mad at the billionaires, and they think because the billionaires ain't paying the taxes is the reason why they're overworking. And that's 100% just not true. As you can see that what's been going on, it's people that, they take your money through organizations, through government organizations. It's just people scamming the system and stealing from you, which again is another thing about your labor. They're stealing your labor, they're stealing your life. So, what is a man worth? What is your job worth? What is your government worth? When they supposed to work for you and they're not doing the job, but you find yourself doing the job and you do it hard and you get nothing for it. It's crazy. You don't get anything. You don't get paid well. In some cases, you got to join a union, but even the unions have gotten ridiculously crazy if they're not selling out your jobs to a foreign country. They're demanding more money and more money and more money. And it's just like, whoa, you guys got a lot of money. Like I seen union workers, and believe me, I can tell you right now, I seen kids, like literally kids that make more than grown adults, and it's just like, well, all right, you're part of a union, which I don't hate on. It's just like, but if you're going on strike, I honestly believe the only strike you should get is a slap to the face for asking for more than what it's worth. Yeah, you do a hard job if you're bringing home 80 grand a year, you're getting what you're worth. You're getting bringing home 90 grand, 100 grand a year. You're getting what you're worth. Stop asking for more raises. You know what I'm saying? Like just let the system go because you won't ask for a pay cut when your company goes, when it doesn't make profit, when it doesn't make quota. So, chill right there. Let your union pay you what you're owed, your benefits, and just chill right there when it comes to unions. As far as the people who don't work unions, we have another story because, you know, the union workers usually do the construction work. The labor workers, we do the shit that basically nobody gets credit for. We do all that hard shit, get rid of the shit, and we stay out in the sun trying to make ends meet. And that's crazy because a lot of people just aren't, skilled like that. I got skills. It's just most of my skills are outside, because I love the outside. I hate inside work. I could do factory. I could sit in an office, and it's just like I don't miss being inside. Being cramped up sucks. So what is a man worth? Well, that's it for today. I am Donnie Dave. This is Thoughts and Sayers. And see you again on the next episode.